From WNEP, the news station, this is 2023, A Look Back.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mindy Ramsey. Thank you for joining us for this special edition of Newswatch 16. As you can see, we are in the Pennsylvania Outdoor Life cabin because we are looking back at the wildest stories of 2023. And I'm even making some new friends here. They're joining us for our wild stories. We are starting out with a very interesting story, thousands of mink running wild in Northumberland County. It was back in September when someone broke into a mink farm outside of Sunbury and let out the critters. They terrorized the surrounding communities for days. At the time, this was the advice from the Game Commission.
Just stay away. Don't touch it. Don't try to trap it. Don't try to catch it. They will bite you. They can potentially hurt you. We want to make sure the public is safe.
Game wardens tried to trap as many mink as possible, and as Newswatch 16's Nikki Kreis shows us, so did residents.
Kind of stared at us, it came right out, looked at us, kind of like wasn't afraid.
Shonda Ronk and many of her neighbors in Rockefeller Township have had an interesting few days as they've come face to face with minks.
I let my dogs out and they started sniffing and running right away, and when I looked to my right, there was a brown tail on the ground, and it was one of the minks that had come across our patio.
Thousands of minks are roaming a section of Northumberland County after they were released from a fur farm early Sunday morning. According to state police, someone broke into a mink farm outside Sunbury. They cut holes in the fencing and opened up the cages. Around 7,000 minks escaped.
It's a shame they done that. Them people work hard over there and trying to keep them in and keep the place going.
Jim Fleming is concerned about the minks. He has 2 dogs, including Bella, who is smaller than the minks. Fleming caught one of the minks with a fishing net.
I seen the tail, and then when I come out, it moved, and I said, no, that's a mink, definitely. I knew right away what it was.
Traps can be seen throughout the area. The Ronk family caught one, too. They have chickens and rabbits on their property and do not want minks going after them.
My daughter, my husband, and I chased it around for about 10 minutes until we got it into a garbage can. And then we took it to the animal hospital.
According to the Pennsylvania Game Commission, the minks will range in size from 12 to 20 inches. They will be black, brown, or white in color.
Mink are nasty. They look nice when you see them, but you don't ever want to pick one up, or, they can hurt you or hurt the animals.
As far as who broke into the mink farm and opened all the cages, that's under investigation by state police. Nikki Kreis, Newswatch 16, Northumberland County.
In addition to their aggressive behavior, minks also take over the dens of other animals, then seal up any potential mink hideouts. We spoke to a Bucknell University biology professor about the impact the number of loose minks can have on an ecosystem.
In the wild, they're territorial, they're solitary. They might need up to 4 square miles each to eat. And we have just released 7,000 of them in the same exact space. I can't even begin to understand why someone would have done this. Clearly someone who did not think through the consequences, whether this was just a prank or whether this was an animal rights issue. All they have done is generate a tremendous amount of suffering.
State police still don't know who released the minks. There's a $22,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest here in Northumberland County. Well, a wildlife center in the Poconos was thrust into the national spotlight after taking care of an eagle that was missing a foot over the summer. The golden eagle came to the Wilders at Pocono Wildlife near Stroudsburg in June. A vet looked over the bird and determined the foot had been missing for 8 months to a year, and despite that, the eagle was doing well.
When we first looked at the foot, I was almost in disbelief that something could have healed that well. No infection, no necrosis. It completely healed over.
The golden eagle still needed some specialized care. Workers planned to take it to a specialist at the University of Penn and get the eagle a prosthetic foot. But then the story took a turn. About a month later, feds ordered the Wildlife Center to euthanize the eagle. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service requires migratory birds to be killed if they can't perch or walk without hurting itself, or if the animal requires amputation of a foot. Well, animal shelters and rescues continue to care for hundreds of animals across northeastern and central PA, but one rescue stands out. It was January when Lackawanna County Humane officers were called to a home in South Abington Township. They got a call about 40 rabbits needing to be rescued, but that number was off. It turned out to be more than 200 rabbits were inside the home, overwhelming both humane officers and the Griffin Pond Animal Shelter.
All of these need vet care. They're all going to need spay and neuter, so it's going to be a gigantic financial undertaking for the shelter.
Volunteers at Griffin Pond have been caring for those rabbits since January. Luckily, most of them found homes. We stopped by in July. There were 38 rabbits still waiting for their forever homes. Now there are just under 20 left. We have adoption information at WNEP.com, or the shelter is looking for volunteers to help care for the rabbits here in Lackawanna County. Well, it's a second chance for animals and inmates in central Pennsylvania. We'll revisit the partnership between an animal shelter and a state prison. That's coming up next on Newswatch 16. A partnership between an animal shelter and a state prison in Northumberland County has changed the lives of hundreds of dogs and dozens of inmates. Newswatch 16's Allie Gallo visited SCI Cole Township back in May to see how the inmates and the rescue dogs are getting a second chance.
You get to see them go somewhere that we don't get to go.
Here inside the State Correctional Institution, Cole Township, a handful of inmates on this block have what they believe to be the most important and the most rewarding job at the prison. Right now, there are 8 who are dog handlers.
Actually, at first, I didn't want to do it. I was really nervous about it because I saw inmates as inmates and not as human beings.
About 30 minutes from the prison in Cole Township is Mommy and Me Rescue, a nonprofit, no-kill animal shelter in Mount Carmel. For the past few years, the rescue in Northumberland County has partnered with the prison in what they call the FIDOS program, which stands for Fostering and Improving Dog Obedience and Survival.
It's pretty awesome, to be honest with you. I mean, you come into this business, and you're not really sure what to expect, but when you see that what you're doing here actually has an effect on people, a positive effect, it brings a good feeling to you, and I think a lot of staff relate to that.
The dogs that enter the prison program are dogs that may not have otherwise been able to be adopted because of their past. Some stay about 4 to 6 weeks, others a lot longer, depending on the training the dog needs. Each dog is paired with an inmate, and the inmate works with the dog until it is ready to be adopted out.
They're both benefiting from it. It takes 2 beings that kind of were on the dark side of the road and moves them into the light, and that's what's really important to us.
The prison won't allow us to show the faces of inmates, but one of the handlers we spoke to has been involved with the program since it began nearly 9 years ago. He's seen dozens and dozens of dogs find their forever homes. Right now, he is working with 2-year-old Ranger. A year ago, before coming to Mommy and Me and the prison, Ranger was considered to be unadoptable and was going to be put down. His first few weeks here at the prison, inmates say he was completely wild, an escape artist, breaking out of the block, running through the halls. But now it is like he is an entirely new dog, and his handler says Ranger has a nice, long life ahead of him.
They give unconditional love back to you, and I know you hear that a lot from animal lovers, but in here it's different. It changes the atmosphere. All the guys like being on the block. Everybody wants to feed the dogs.
Since the start of the FIDOS program almost a decade ago, about 700 dogs have been adopted out, getting the second chance they probably wouldn't have if it weren't for the inmates here at SCI Cole Township. The dogs live with the handlers in their cells 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The handlers spend all of their days training the dogs, socializing them, and turning their lives around.
Taught me a lot of patience, responsibility, and brought a lot of structure.
Just balancing my time, discipline, obviously the emotional balance of it, just it's a different pace from the rest of the jail. So.
And in return, the dogs turn the lives of the inmates around too. Some may never get out of here, but for those who do, oftentimes they find jobs working with and caring for animals. Kalinowski says she has received countless letters from inmates over the years, thanking her for giving them this second chance. She says even the inmates who live on this block who aren't handlers have found a new sense of calmness and happiness.
It confirms everything I ever thought about dogs, you know. I always felt it myself that dogs really, you know, they're their unconditional love, and they don't care what you've done or who you are. They will support you.
Good boy. He walks
in some way.
Once the handlers believe a dog is ready to find its forever home, rescue workers at Mommy and Me coordinate the entire adoption process. Then new dogs are brought into SCI Cole Township, and the process starts all over again. Allie Gallo, Newswatch 16, Northumberland County.
A familiar face on the big screen teamed up with an animal from our area. The famous feline coming up next on Newswatch 16. Well, a cat from our area hit the silver screen alongside Oscar winner Tom Hanks. Schmegel co-stars in A Man Called Otto. Earlier this year, Nikki Kreis caught up with the famous feline and his owner.
Brittany Huffnagel-Long of Catawissa has been an animal lover for as long as she can remember. 7 years ago, she found 2 kittens outside of a Sheetz convenience store and knew she had to rescue them.
They were teeny tiny little kittens at the time, and luckily my husband was okay with the idea of me kind of bringing them home and springing them on him.
Brittany named the kittens Schmegel and Schmisket. Both were very friendly and social, especially Schmegel the male.
My daughter being born, and she was kind of playing with him a lot, and he was really into that. So those sorts of things kind of led to our decision of, okay, well, we could see what he could do farther than that.
Brittany owns Hillcrest Canine Country Club, which is a grooming and dog boarding facility in the Catawissa area. She also competes in dog shows, which is where she was approached by an animal acting agent. Over the years, some of Brittany's pets have appeared in television shows, but recently Schmegel got his big break. He has a large role in the movie A Man Called Otto, starring Tom Hanks.
The cat is an animal that he tends to, bond with and form a relationship with.
Brittany and Schmegel spent several months in Pittsburgh filming alongside Tom Hanks.
He's fabulous. He is always treating people like he wants to be treated. It is very friendly, more so like family, I guess, at that point, than someone else that you would just randomly see.
And that wasn't Schmegel's first time in front of the camera. He's been in a number of TV shows and has no plans on stopping.
We did an American Horror Story series with the animals this summer, and he was in that as well. So we're always doing different projects, and yeah, he'll keep going as long as he wants to.
Brittany says as soon as Schmegel is ready to retire from the big screen, he will be able to. Nikki Kreis, Newswatch 16, Columbia County.
Well, it's no secret that pet owners would do anything to help their four-legged friends. And for one family, that means a cutting-edge procedure. That's coming up next on Newswatch 16. Well, the people of northeastern and central PA certainly love helping animals, and that rings true at a wildlife center in the Poconos. Back in September, Newswatch 16's Amanda Eustace showed us the creative way that rehabbers are helping Daisy get back on her feet.
Using a small kitten harness and an adhesive bandage wrap,
our little contraption that we made in between to hold her legs apart.
Intern Brianna Banco is giving this opossum named Daisy the chance to stand up all by herself. It's something rehabilitators here at the Wilders at Pocono Wildlife Center near Stroudsburg say she wasn't able to do over a month ago when she was brought in.
Anytime we can help an animal, we try to think outside the box because that's what we need. There's no exact research on how to do this or that. Sometimes we need to invent new materials, new structures to give a specific animal specific support somewhere.
Coming up with a way to help Daisy was top priority for the Wildlife Center and Banco, who studied wildlife ecology in college. This is what she came up with, and it's working.
We have special material with metal in between, and then we wrapped it So it's all nice and cushioned, nothing sharp is poking out of this. So this goes between her legs, in which then we wrap around her hind just to give that support behind.
Okay.
And then we use the harness to really pull it up.
Co-director of the center, Janine Tancredi, says a temporary injury to the spine is what's causing Daisy to drag her back legs. She believes by using the suspender-looking contraption twice a day on Daisy, the animal will have a better chance of being able to recover.
The idea is to get the muscle built up in the hind legs so that she's at least steady. I know it doesn't look like much in the actual sling, the way that she's standing, but just bearing weight alone and rocking back and forth is strengthening those muscles that she's not able to do without it.
Daisy is also doing red light therapy while moving her legs to help build the muscle.
Some animals give us the chance, like her, to work with her and kind of build that muscle and, you know, rehabilitate her. That's our goal.
They believe Daisy will eventually be released back into the wild. I'm Andy Eustace, Newswatch 16, Monroe County.
A family in Wayne County went the extra mile for their pet tortoise. 13-year-old Jimmy the tortoise was having a hard time getting around in 2022. Her hind legs started dragging, so her owners took Jimmy to Cornell University Hospital earlier this year for a cutting-edge procedure. The veterinarian was able to remove a 4-inch bladder stone.
He invented this new procedure, which is amazing for turtles, because normally the procedure is to cut the bottom shell, move it, and it is extremely painful because their shells have nerve endings.
We had to do whatever we could to help her.
Jimmy is getting around much better and still has a lot of life left to live. These tortoises can live up to 70 years. And it was truly a wild sight in central Pennsylvania in early 2023. We'll revisit the migrating snow geese coming up on Newswatch 16. Well, you may not remember, but last January the weather was fairly mild, leaving thousands of migrating snow geese a little confused. They usually pass through central PA in February, but Newswatch 16's John Meyer found them hanging out a month early.
It was a mesmerizing burst of birds. Right in front of us, quite a sight and sound of thousands of snow geese here near Turbinville.
And it's actually pretty cool for the most part. They're pretty approachable.
Outdoor enthusiast Jason Michael let us know the snow geese were here, then became our guide to help find them.
They were here 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
A week and a half ago, maybe at the most recent, and then they disappeared.
Now they're back and apparently confused. Snow geese usually stop here during their migration north, but that's normally a month from now. Experts say snow geese stopping in Pennsylvania now may include some going north early, but many more that came south late. All because this winter has been so mild. Whatever the reason, whatever the timing, their stop here is quite a show.
I've by no means ever been per se a bird watcher, but this is beyond. It's just all striking, really. Just to see them do what they do. And
they'll feed in fields for a bit, then move on. At night, they usually roost on lakes and ponds. The scenery here makes it all more beautiful. Countryside that's been snow-free most of the winter, covered in a different kind of snow white.
What a setting though, too.
That sound is just so cool. Yep, that sound, a big part of the experience.
And you'd think 10,000 of them in the sky, who's in charge? Who says, land here? But something's up. I don't got the answer for that, but it's interesting how they pick their spot.
Check out this slow motion view. One does lead the way for this sudden takeoff. But if one is the boss, it doesn't know which direction to lead this year. I'm just glad we were able to follow them here.
It's epic. It's just, you just don't see this by the masses like this, but a week or two out of the year. And
there's something about this place that draws the snow geese each year. There's something about them that is just fascinating to watch. John Meyer, Newswatch 16 on the Pennsylvania Road in Montour County.
Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.